What is going on, everyone? A Tuesday show today because we took the day off yesterday to celebrate Independence Day. I'm Wac. Scotty's gonna be joining us here in a minute. It's funny, right before we went live on the show, he was waiting on someone to come do something in his house all morning, and right when the show starts is when he shows up. So Scotty's taking care of that. He will join us here momentarily. But before he joins us, I'll just go ahead and say welcome to the Tuesday. So hope everyone had a great and safe 4th of July weekend. I know it rained here in at least my neck of the woods here in Austin, Texas. So we had to deal with that. So we did what we could, but it was great. It was a great weekend for me, and I'm sure Scotty had a great weekend. He'll tell you about that when he joins us here momentarily. But we got some things to talk about. We didn't talk about some things last week that I wanted to get to with Scott, and so we'll get to those shortly. We'll talk some Ncaa baseball. Mississippi State winning their first national championship. We'll talk some Euro Cup soccer. That is actually one of the semifinals is just kicking off right now. I believe that's Italy and Spain, if I'm not mistaken. And then we got some other sports things to talk about. Somewhat would call controversy in the women's 100 meter with Shakira getting not disqualified, but she got suspended for 30 days, so she'll miss. I believe she'll miss at least the 100 meter. I don't know if she'll be able to make the relay teams. I don't know what the situation is on that, so we'll get mine and Scotty's take on that. And then, hey, NBA finals are set, starting tonight. Phoenix versus Milwaukee. A really, really interesting matchup. I got some questions I want to ask Scott on that. So we'll get to that here in a minute. And in fact, here's our man now, Scotty. How are we doing today? 1 second, he says 1 second right when I cued him in. So we'll go ahead and move away from that real quick. I'll give my thoughts on the NHL still happening as well. Montreal came out with a win yesterday, so it is not a sweep for Tampa Bay. Still think they have to be the favorite. I mean, how many teams have ever come back down from 3-0 to win it all? So a lot of people are just thinking it's a matter of time before Tampa Bay hoists that crown as back-to-back champions. So NBA, and we'll start with the NBA Finals. I'll give my thoughts on it, and then when Scott comes back, I'll get his thoughts on it as well. A lot of people are saying, "Well, this is going to be a boring finals," because Milwaukee and I'd say to a lesser extent, Phoenix, they're not the big city, big market teams that people are used to seeing. They're not the Lakers, right? They're not the not the Golden State Warriors, but I mean, these are the two best teams. Let's not forget Milwaukee had the best record, heading into the playoffs. I mean, Phoenix is basically, yes, they had a slow start to this season, but they've basically been on a tear since the bubble last year, right? So they won all their games in the bubble. They did miss it out in the playoffs, but they won all their games in the bubble before they got eliminated from the playoffs, just because of where they stood going into the bubble. And then, like I said, after the slow start to the season, they really kicked it into gear. Chris Paul has been, I think, a great addition to this team this year, just as far as the leadership level of someone that's been there before. Well, he hasn't been to the finals, but he's been in the playoffs many years, and so just that kind of leadership mentality, I think, was great and a great addition for the Phoenix Suns. And hey, you know what? I gotta say, hats off to the Clippers, though. I mean, all the way up until the Western Conference Finals, started each series down 0-2. They were able to do it, come back and win it twice. Last time they were not able to. Of course, Kawhi Leonard didn't play any in the semis with his knee injury. I don't know if they've really said it's an ACL, but pretty sure it was an ACL. And we'll find out more. I'm assuming here shortly. Giannis, though, is on track to play tonight. We'll see if he does play. I mean, that was a scary situation. If anyone didn't see that injury, I think it could have been a lot worse than what it appears to be. Which, thank goodness, it's not worse. And that he's able to almost play is a good thing. So hats off to him. on being able to potentially, play tonight. We'll obviously see if that is the case or not. I think it's going to probably be a game time game time decision, and we'll see what happens on that. So, I would think personally, I would think that you have to think if Giannis isn't 100%, that the Phoenix is the odds-on favorite to win this. At that, even before then, though, I mean, even before Milwaukee ended up winning that game against Atlanta, I had Phoenix kind of penciled in once they had reached the finals, and it was, we're waiting between Milwaukee and Atlanta. I kind of had penciled in Phoenix as the favorite to win the finals. So that's who I'm picking. I'm gonna say Phoenix in 5. I know that might be a little controversial to only give Milwaukee one game, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Phoenix in 5. And now Scotty is back with us. Scotty, I don't know if you've heard anything I've been talking about. First, welcome back.
Thank you.
Of course, I told the audience, of course, the guy knocks on the door a minute before the show goes live. That's how it happens,
That's
right?
the tweet out there.
But
I got the tweets out.
Hey,
I'm gonna say Suns in 4. I'm gonna be like the Suns in 4 guy that took the world by storm. Which, like, that little rivalry is just electric. I'm here for it. Suns in 4. I'm here for it.
So you then are even braver than me. I said Suns in 5. What makes you say Suns in 4, Scott?
Well, so the Suns in 4 guy. Did you see that guy, Josh?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's the only reason why. Because I thought that was really hilarious what he did, and so Suns in 4.
Hey, you know what? I can't fault you with that logic. I don't know how much you heard with what I was telling people.
It's pretty airtight logic, if you ask me. I'm just saying, airtight logic.
We don't know because Giannis is supposedly on track to play tonight. That's the early indication, is that he is on track to play tonight. So if that were to happen, I mean, we don't know what his health level is, and so I think with that, you really have to say, Phoenix just looks like the healthier, better team at this point.
2 former Rockets are playing, and Chris Paul and PJ Tucker. 2 of my favorites. I like both of them, so it's going to be tough. I think CP3, though, gets it done, and the Suns win. Realistically, I say Suns in 6.
Yeah, I think.
And anyway, this is like the NBA's dream, right? You have Phoenix versus Milwaukee. I mean, you had the opportunity of the Brooklyn versus the Clippers, New York, LA, but then you got Milwaukee and then you got Phoenix. This is the best case scenario if you're the NBA, right, Josh?
Yes. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, doing a little something. Yes. I think, I mentioned this while you were away, is like, a lot of people are saying, hey, it's Milwaukee, it's Phoenix. They're not the biggest kind of big city markets, especially Milwaukee. This is going to hurt ratings, blah, blah, blah. But, man, if you're a fan of basketball, it's the finals. How are you not going to watch, right? So, I mean, you got you got a former MVP in Giannis. You got a Suns team that, I mean, you got Ayton, who is, I think they said, the first player since, I think, 2003, which was, believe it was Kenyon Martin, where you had the first round pick making it to the finals in their first 3 years with that team. So he, I mean, that putback in game 2, I believe it was, against the Clippers, when there was like 0.9 seconds left, and they did that little alley-oop, little inbounds pass. I mean, that was just insane. Of course, you have Chris Paul finally making the playoffs, or not the playoffs, the finals, after so many years of trying. Always wondering if he was going to pass that threshold. Now he's there, and can he win it all? And then Booker. I mean, that he's been that central point of building this team to where it is now. So I would love to see the Suns win, but I mean, hey, it's not the Spurs. I know for you, it's not the Rockets. So can't be completely happy. But if you have to pick one, I'm going to go with the Suns here, just so many little story factors.
On a side note, the Suns, I don't think couldn't have had an easier path to the finals. It just seems like a lot of the teams that they ran into, look, you can't control it. You got to play who's in front of you. But a lot of those teams had some injury problems, most notably being against the Clippers most recently with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard didn't play in that series. PG-13 tried to put the team on his back, and he was able to keep at least a few games interesting. But Suns have had an easy path. Let's see. The Bucks, really the biggest speed bump was Brooklyn. And even Brooklyn, when they played, they had a hobbled James Harden. And then you had a Kyrie Irving who didn't play. It was essentially KD. And he almost beat the Bucks by himself practically. So the Bucks have had an easy path as well. But I would say the Suns have had an easier path. But at the end of the day, I think these are the two best teams ready to go. Let's tip off and see who wins the championship.
Hey, if KD wears his right shoe size, they may be in the finals right now. That was something we never talked about on this show. That's something crazy to think about, is because he wears size bigger, because it's more comfortable. His toe was on that line on that would have been a game winning, but was a game tying shot in the fourth quarter.
Right.
So,
even going back to the first round, the Suns played the Lakers, who didn't have Anthony Davis. If the Lakers had Anthony Davis, I think that series went 6, if I'm not mistaken. You have LeBron James and AD. It's a little bit different series, in my opinion, because AD is that good. But look, again, two best teams. Bucks snuck by Brooklyn. That was probably the best series of the NBA playoffs, which is NBA playoffs haven't been that exciting, in my opinion, to be honest. I haven't really watched much of it. It's kind of NBA, in my opinion, is very predictable. But this series, I don't know.
You say that though. Look who we have in the finals. We have Milwaukee and Phoenix, two teams. Milwaukee hasn't been in since the 70s. Phoenix hasn't been in since the 90s, or I believe they made the finals.
Charles Barkley in the 90s.
Yeah. So I mean, you say it's predictable, but we got two teams that haven't been in the finals in ages. Then, like we mentioned, when a few weeks back, this is going to be the first finals in ages where a LeBron, Curry, or I think one other athlete haven't been represented in the NBA Finals. So, I would counter on you on that point.
Finally, we mixed it up. Like, goodness gracious, it's been a LeBron James, Steph Curry show for the last 15 years, really ever since LeBron got in the league 18 years ago, man. So, when I think LeBron made his first finals in 2007, if I'm not mistaken.
I know that because that's when the Spurs beat them. So, of course, I would know that.
Yeah, against your Spurs. And really, it's been LeBron and then Steph in between. And then, obviously, we have their famous series going back and forth. So, I'm excited to see Giannis, dude. Giannis, I've seen him play in real life. I saw him play here in Houston against the Rockets I guess it was 2 years ago now. Gosh. The guy's legit. There's a reason why he's the Greek freak. He is unbelievable. I like Chris Middleton. He's doing well. I personally love PJ Tucker, as I mentioned. He repped hard for H-Town when he was here. The Suns, I think, just play good basketball. You have your general out there on the court, Chris Paul. Devin Booker, he's so good. If he can stay healthy, I know he's had like some issues or whatnot. DeAndre Ayton, dude, he's just an incredible athlete. Like I said, that putback. I mean, what a mental breakdown for the Clippers to let that happen. You just can't let that happen. So it's going to be exciting. Phoenix versus Milwaukee. I'll tune in a little bit. Like, we're really busy here at Vype, so Vype keeps me really busy as is. So I'll try to tune in whenever I can.
Well, moving on, let's talk about a championship that was settled, and we didn't talk about it on the show last week. That's Mississippi State winning the NCAA baseball tournament, and I'm a little bummed about this because when you look at how, let me finish my take here, and that's because when you look at how easily they handled Vanderbilt, Texas was so close to probably winning that championship. I mean, they lost by 1 run, so they played Mississippi State 3 times. They played them in the first game in the College World Series, which they lost 2-1. Then they beat them in the second game. I think ended up being a 3-run game they won, and that one was marred by rain delays. And then in that last game, that deciding game, they lost 4-3 at the bottom of the ninth. And so they only lost to Mississippi State by 1 run in each of their losses. And man, we're just seeing how and that's really why you don't see a team that loses the first game in the College World Series go all the way and win it. It's rarely happened. That's because pitching it becomes key during those times where Mississippi State was able to that pitcher that they lost in game one. They had to face them in that deciding game, and that was really the deciding factor. So yeah, congrats to Mississippi State. I mean, I think that was their first national championship they've won. I think we were talking before the show. There's only 3 teams in Power 5 that never won a national championship. No, is it 2? I know Kansas State is one of them. So
it's Kansas State and Virginia Tech are the only 2 Power 5 NCAA schools that have not won a national championship in any school in any program. Period. Virginia Tech's gotten really close, especially in football. I mean, they had those Frank Beamer years where they were humming. Michael Vick, Marcus Vick, like Virginia Tech. I've heard Blacksburg is electric for football, but just in any sport, it's just pretty crazy to think about. And then obviously Kansas State, like that's just tough. You got Derek Dushek over here at Vype Media, big K-State fan. I don't think he's watching, but I'm going to clip this out for you. Man, that's got to sting. That's got to hurt, especially since my Baylor Bears, no big deal, won the national championship in basketball. So it's fine.
Texas did win 3 to 5 national championships this year. I believe. I don't know the exact
year.
Yeah, no, they did. So, at least in rowing, women's tennis, and swimming. So I think it's 3 that they ended up winning, and then they got runner-up.
That's the best program at the University of Texas. How's that feel?
So you know what's funny about that is the coach retired, and he just unretired on Friday, so he's coming back.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they got runner-up in volleyball, so they got to play second. And you know what? I'm just going to call them. I want to call them the runner-up in baseball because of how well they played against Mississippi State compared to Vanderbilt. But
all due respect, real quick, to put a bow on that, all due respect to Vanderbilt, I don't know if they beat South Carolina. Look, I'm not going to pretend like I follow. Yeah, I'm sorry, NC State. I'm not going to pretend like I follow college baseball very closely or anything like that. But what I've seen, what I've heard, NC State just I can't use those words without getting in trouble here. But
no, they were on fire. They had turned it up a notch heading into the not only the College World Series but like the regional and super regional as well. I mean, they beat the top ranked Arkansas, and beat their best pitcher, by the way, for Arkansas, and one of the best pitchers in the nation. And then, I mean, heck, even in that game against Vanderbilt that they got to play with a shortened roster because of COVID, I mean, they were at the bottom of the ninth. They had runners. They had the tying run or the winning run at the plate, I believe, and just couldn't get it done. So, I mean, yeah, that was just devastating to see what happened to NC State there.
Shame on the NCAA, in my opinion. Shame on them. That was.
We don't want to get in trouble here, but yeah, the NCAA did not handle that well at all.
It was, yes. I'm not going to get into it, but I felt really bad for those kids. And a Mississippi State, NC State final is what everybody, I think, was projecting, and it would have been a little bit different instead of the way that it turned out. So, but as I mentioned with the NBA playoffs earlier, you got to play what's in front of you. If you're Mississippi State, you took care of business against Texas, a tough Texas team. You can't control who you face next. They placed Vanderbilt, and they did what they needed to do and won that natty. So big shouts to them.
Couldn't agree more. But on a positive note for Texas, yes, people only really pay attention to some of the the footballs and the basketballs, and Texas didn't have a good football season, and their basketball season ended in really disappointing fashion in the NCAA tournament. Let's not lie. But they did win their first ever Learfield Directors Cup, which, I don't know, it's like basically the best athletic program in Texas, or not in Texas, in the nation. Stanford had won like 20-something straight because, they're so well in all these the non quote-unquote popular sports. But Texas...
It helps when your best program is swimming and diving.
Hey, you say that though, but let's not forget about volleyball. Texas has a really good volleyball school. So hey,
yeah.
I mean,
I just like giving you a hard time.
That's fine. You can do that. Let's move on to let's stay in the college realms here, and talk about, this is something I know we're gonna disagree on because we've had pre conversations about that, and that's that the NCAA is allowing the name, image, and likeness, so athletes can get paid for their name, image, and likeness now. Scott, I know you disagree with this decision. I agree with it. So let's start with you. Why do you disagree with this decision?
It's kind of hard to put it into words because I heard one person say, like, I'm a capitalist. I believe in people earning a living for what they do, especially at the age of 18, whenever you're considered a legal adult. And so in that perspective, I get it. I get it, especially since football and basketball, men's basketball to be more specific, those are the biggest two revenue drivers in sports. And even then, most men's basketball programs aren't profitable. Most athletic, I don't think people realize most athletic departments in the NCAA are not profitable. The only reason why that there are sports is because of football. Football is the only sport that makes people money, makes athletic departments money. And so, yes, if these kids, there's like, I've seen stories of like a few kids who wanted to like start YouTube channels or whatnot, and they aren't able to monetize that until after they're done with college. So in that regard, like, I think if a person wants to start their own business or start a YouTube channel, make money off their TikTok things, whatever, like, yeah, I think you should be able to do that. I think it just gets really dicey in terms of recruiting. And my perspective on this is because I play golf. Golf was the sport that I played in college for a very brief stint. But golf and tennis and other sports like that, swimming and diving, rowing, crew, they don't make money for the university. The only reason why they exist is because of football. And I think that those other sports are going to be really affected by this because people are, they're not going to cease to exist, but those other sports are going to struggle drastically, in my opinion. And that's not even getting into Title IX stuff. I think because all these women's sports exist because of how big the football teams generally are. So it's just the toothpaste is out of the bottle, cat's out of the bag. You can't put it back in. And look, it was going to happen this way anyway. And to your point, we talked about this earlier, Josh, offline, but a lot of the stuff is already happening anyway. Everybody knows about it. You just don't really talk about it. And for a lot of this stuff, it just makes it above board now. So in that regard, I don't know if much will change. It just legitimizes other things. But my perspective is that it's going to hurt the smaller programs and more specifically the smaller schools in this regard. And Lord knows how it's going to affect recruiting. I haven't even really thought that far in advance. But those are my thoughts.
I would have to disagree with you that when you say it's going to hurt the other sports and smaller schools. I mean, when you look at what the NIL is, it's only so it's not only right now. So now things can obviously change, but right now it's your name, image, and likeness, right? So if you look at it now, you're going to give, for instance, smaller colleges that are in smaller communities. It's going to be kind of almost like a chance for maybe a mom and pop shop type of thing where they're going to be able to go out and give some money to some athletes. I think now you're going to, obviously I think now you're going to be able to see people, athletes be able to take prizes. When you talk about golf, most likely take the prize money that they win in the PGA or LPGA. If that's what I would assume could happen now. Now, Scott, you know more about golf than me, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think stuff like that is going to be allowed now, if I'm being honest. So,
yeah, well, I can speak better about that than golf as opposed to like gymnastics or tennis or anything like that. But I think tennis is the same way in golf, and the fact that the USGA is the governing body of golf. That is who sets the rules and everything. And to be considered an amateur in golf, you are not allowed to accept money playing golf. So the NCAA tournaments, they cannot have prize monies, theoretically, or prize purses, because if an amateur accepts money, he is automatically a professional. And then even though with the NCAA you can still make money off your name, image, and likeness, you still have to be considered an amateur. So and with golf in particular, it's going to really blur those lines of, okay, if I'm in a commercial, I might take money for golf, but also I'm making money off my name, image, and likeness, because the USGA could crack down on it and be like, hey, golfers, I'm sorry, but if you take money, you cannot play in amateur events anymore. You have to turn professional. So that's golf is a little bit different in the sense than compared to like basketball or anything like that.
Yeah, but I think my overall point is there's so many different corporations, small and large, in different cities and whatnot, that they're going to be able to offer these kids some type of money, to promote their stuff, and they'll also get paid for their name, image, and likeness. And so I think that's what you're going to see. There's certain brands that only deal in tennis and swimming, what have you. They're going to go after these kids now. So now, is everyone going to benefit? No, right? I mean, there's so many college athletes. And so I think you're going to see some going to be more successful than others. And so I think for me, it's a first step. I've always been in support of college athletes getting some type of monetary value. I don't think their scholarship is enough for not only what they do, what they do for the university, providing, the universities with a boost of income, but just the hours they put in, right? So you can say, I'll go get a job. Well, it's not that easy a lot of times, I feel like, for college athletes. Me personally, that's my personal opinion. So,
yeah, and
go for it.
It's tough too because what do they say? Like 5% of all high school athletes go and play college, and then 1% of all collegiate athletes make it to the pros. So it's so easy to think about your Zion Williamsons, your Johnny Manziels, your Heisman Trophy winners, blah, 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 blah. Your top 10, top 15 recruits. Yes, they're going to benefit. Yeah, like whenever, because Elite 11 just happened, like whenever Quinn Ewers, Connor Wigman, all those guys get to college, yeah, they're going to benefit off of this because Cade Klubnik is going to be the starting quarterback at Clemson. Yeah, you're going to make a lot of money off of that. I think also, though, people don't necessarily, in my view, you got a stipend, though, for your meals, for your stuff. So, like, you got clothes, you got all this gear and all this stuff. And most importantly, in my opinion, you got a free education. Do you know how many people out there are just saddled and riddled with student debt? Like, you're telling me that you can get a lot of these kids free education? Like, that's almost getting, like, look, if you go to Baylor's like $250,000 a year. And then if you can get a 4-year degree, and if you play a 5th year, you get a master's on top of that for free instead of everybody else who has to pay student loans off at the end of the day. Like, there's some value in that people I don't think are realizing. And as I mentioned, you get stipends, you get all this free gear, you get meal plans. Like, you can do pretty good in college just the way that it was. But now it's going to benefit the top 1% of all athletes even more.
Yes and no. I mean, again, hey, a lot of people have, like you said, they have passions outside of sports maybe. So now they're maybe able to start a YouTube page. Maybe they're able to make money off of things like Twitch or, what have you. I think probably for me, one of the most famous examples is, I think it was a punter for, I think it was East Central, I believe was the school, where his YouTube blew up and he couldn't monetize it because his YouTube videos were based off punting. Right, and so he eventually left because he found success in the social media realm. And I think that's what's most interesting in this aspect is because where we are in a society where you can make money off of things like social media and stuff like that, where the NCAA wouldn't allow you to do that. I think it's a step in the right direction on that end. And like I said, I think we miss the aspect of, you're going to see some of these athletes. Yes, the top percent they're gonna benefit the most, no doubt. Can't disagree with you there. But you're going to see some of these other athletes, they're going to start grinding, and they're going to find these kind of maybe smaller, companies that they're going to be able to get some money off of. So, go ahead.
Look, there's a law of unintended consequences just in life. And I think there's a lot of unintended consequences that are out there that we don't know, we don't see yet because we just can't really foresee yet. But like something that I just thought of, look, I think some people and some kids are going to be stressing out about this a little bit more, chasing after the dollar to the point where, yeah, some kid who's a top 10 recruit might be chasing after that money and then chase a little bit too hard after this, start losing their craft, and then you don't get drafted. And then, so yeah, there's, like I said, there's a lot of unintended consequences here that I don't know if we can foresee, but there's going to be good and bad that comes out of this. Like, yes, your example, the East Central Michigan kicker, like, I'm all for that. Like, I think those are great things. there's going to be a lot of shady stuff, even though it does legitimize it even more. There's going to be a lot of bad things that come from this. And, hopefully they're treating these kids like adults now. If you're 18 years old, and you're a male or female, you can go into the military. So they're treating you more like adults. And I just know whenever I was 19, 20 years old, I don't know if I could handle that type of responsibility yet. So I don't think I still can, to be honest, sometimes. But point is, there's a lot of things out there that there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of this. There's going to be a lot of bad that comes out of this too. And so I just hope the good outweighs the bad at the end of the day.
I don't disagree with you there. I would agree that there is going to be some type of learning curve on how this is going to be managed. I think you probably will see schools now, and maybe this is something to your point, is, obviously schools that can afford it will probably hire someone that's going to be working with their athletes to get those NILs from whatever company they want. And then you're going to have some that just aren't. Some that's going to have to push it on to an employee that's already on staff. So, I mean, like I said, I agree with you that it's not going to be perfect, but I think I personally am for this, which you already know.
I saw something. I think it was at the University of Miami. Like, they're doing like blanket deals. It's like, hey, if you come to the University of Miami, like I think UM is selling the football team's name, image, and likeness already, and going to give a kickback to all the players. So it's like whatever the equivalent is. I think it was like $6,000 a player. How's that any different than a stipend already that you're already getting from the program?
You're not wrong, but I mean, it would be $600 more than they had before. It would be something I would say. But again, just to put a little bow on it, because I think me and you can go back and forth on this all day.
Oh yeah,
is that it's happened. It's gonna happen. We can't fight it, and there's gonna be good and bad, and really a learning curve on it. And so the really thing is, how quickly can people figure it out is going to be the key.
They've already figured it out, man. They've already figured it out.
Just some of the nuances.
Girl who's going to make $1 million off her TikTok page now?
Yeah.
Like, come on. That's outrageous money. And the fact that you could have gotten that, but like, if you just weren't on the gymnastics thing, that's the purpose of it, right? Is to, if you can like monetize your social media pages, do it. Like, that's awesome. But my question is now, what's the point of the NCAA? If your point of the NCAA was to monitor and regulate amateurism, well, now that they're making money off of this, throw that definition out the door. Like, what's the point? Like, the bowl championships, it's not BCS anymore, but the playoffs, that's not run through the NCAA. What's the point of the NCAA anymore?
I guess we'll have to find out. So, I mean, I'm sure
they are irrelevant.
I think there's going to be stuff. I mean, they still have to deal with grades and academics and stuff like that. So, but
here's the thing. Here's the equivalent. With this decision, this is like Henry Ford coming up with the Model T. The NCAA is the horse and buggy. They're falling behind with the times. They're going to be irrelevant soon.
We'll see. I mean, you may have a point. I would disagree with you, but I mean, NCAA doesn't get a lot right, and for me, this is something that they did get right. So we complain that.
It's because they had to. It's because the Supreme Court cracked down on them on a 9-0 decision. When was the last time you saw the Supreme Court agree on anything fully? Like, that just shows how wrong the NCAA is.
Well, we may disagree on the NIL, but something we do agree on is our favorite segment of the show, which we'll move to right now. That is, who's that mascot now? Scotty, we know the last 2 weeks haven't been too kind to you on who's that mascot. But again, I try to be as random as I can, right? I'm not looking for something. I'm not looking to get you or anything. I mainly just scroll through my file and stop and be like, okay, I'm going to pick one from this row. It's how I do it. So I got some this week. I think you have a good chance here. I want to look up one real fact. I don't want to get it wrong. But
you're having to look something up already. I'm really screwed.
No. This is just a little fact here. Maybe. Okay. Let's see. Yep. All right. Are you ready for your first one?
Yes.
If there's one you get right, it should be this one. If you don't get this one right, then you're just gonna look bad. I'm just gonna say that. All right.
Okay.
Here we go. You got 10 seconds to get this one right. Carthage. House, Carthage.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I don't know. I'm going to say, wait, Carthage, Eagles.
Carthage Eagles. Incorrect. It is the Carthage Bulldogs. The Carthage Bull.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
I will say this, in your
Should have
defense
known that one.
is that the logo for Carthage doesn't really make it apparent that's a bulldog, and Carthage is known for being Carthage, right? So
Yeah, I was trying to think of like a C because I knew that the logo looked like the Cincinnati Reds logo. So I was like, what is this? All right. What you got?
all
What's
right,
next?
your next one.
Ugh.
This one's I will say this one's a Houston school. They call it Houston. I left Houston off, but it is a Houston school, so keep that in mind. All right. So your next one is Madison, also known as Houston Madison, but again, I took the Houston out.
Madison Marlins.
Now, what made you say Marlins? I want to ask you that.
Because it's another M. That's
Well,
the only reason why.
I don't know how you did it, but you are right. It is the Madison Marlins.
Woo! Let's
What a
go.
lucky
Literally,
guess
I was
right
like,
there.
what just sounds good? The Madison Marlins. Like,
Now, that's how you do it right there when you don't know. That's a great guess right there. So your final one.
boom.
Back on
You
track.
know
No,
who's the most famous graduate from Madison?
now I think this is where we're going because I think this is what I was going to tell you. That would be the one Vince Young, if I'm not mistaken. That's right.
BY,
That's
Houston
right.
Madison.
And
Yes, sir.
I think that's why I picked it in the back of my head. I was like, I'm pretty sure Vince Young went to Madison, so let me go ahead and pick that. And I looked it up, and sure enough, yep. So my
Yep,
man,
we had some legendary series against North Shore and other, because that was before they were still at the same division. So, yeah, Vince Young, just incredible. If you have a chance, like go. I don't know if his highlight tapes, I'm sure are out there somewhere, but he is like literally the biggest and the fastest person. Because that's when Madison, they weren't the high. I think they were 4A at the time, so the second highest classification. So it's like, yeah, let's put our best athlete as quarterback, and then the rest is history.
oh man, I can only wonder if he had stayed one more year at Texas. Oh man, but
Oh,
let's not get into that. Got to move on to our final one of the day. Back on winning track, or not winning, I guess, but back on the not getting them all wrong track. Anyways, your last one for this week, Tyler. I will give you one hint if you want. Their mascot is the same as an NFL team, but that's all I'm giving you. Narrows it down a little bit.
Tyler Texans.
Tyler Texans. Incorrect. The Tyler Lions.
Is it Cowboys?
Tyler
Lions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, after our favorite segment comes our second favorite segment of the show, and that is One Good Thing. One Good Thing is where we tell you one good thing we saw this past week. Scotty, what is your one good thing for this past week?
Fireworks. Saw a lot of fireworks. I saw a video actually this morning, which is my one good thing. It was this person taking a video on an airplane over. I can't tell I don't remember what city in the state of Texas, but you just see fireworks exploding everywhere. So it just reminds me of the freedoms that we are so blessed to have here in America, and thankful for men like you, Josh, you served, and so we are thankful for fireworks and freedom.
There you go. My one good thing is not going to be as patriotic, but my one good thing is just we've had some good sports recently, right? So I mean, we had the Olympic trials for USA to see who made the Olympics, which is now concluded, I believe. We've had the Euro Cup, which is now in the semifinals. One of the games is going on right now as we speak, and we had the NCAA baseball tournament conclude. We're about to start the NBA Finals, the NHL Finals. Just concluded Game 4. Montreal stayed alive. So yeah, man, it's just you think it kind of seems like a downtime in sports, but it's really not. And then right when all this is finishing up, the Olympics is happening in like 3 weeks. So man, my TV is gonna be. I got my 4 monitors set up. I'm gonna have like 3 of them occupied with with just different Olympic channels. So I want to get things just, man, it's prime sports time right now.
That's right. Usually this is the dead period in sports, but there is a lot going on, and that's a lot to be thankful for because this time last year we didn't have sports. Think about that. We went so long without having sports that now we're just on sports overload. I'm here for it. Let's go.
By the way, let me go ahead and I'm pulling it up here just to see. So it hasn't happened yet. It starts at 1:30. So I was mistaken. Italy versus Spain starts at 1:30. So I thought it started at noon. But there you go. So that's one happening today.
Hey, also that deal that Lionel Messi made. Oh my gosh, how much money is that guy gonna make?
Yeah,
Crazy.
You talk about money in like American sports, but man, soccer, that's insane money right there. But,
yeah, that is. I bet you LeBron James saw that contract and was like, I want that.
Hey, I saw that contract, and that's what I said when I saw that contract, right? So,
yeah. Can I get a raise here at Vype? That'd be great. Thanks. Hope you're watching, Shane.
He's gonna text you right now and be like, ha ha ha. But
yeah, LOL.
That is our Monday show on a Tuesday. We will be back to our regular scheduled day next week, so we will be back on Monday. We got some things in the works for our live shows that hopefully we can announce soon. Stay tuned for that. Until then, I'm Wac. That's Scotty T. This has been Vype, a Locker Talk. Have a good one, everyone.
See you, party people.